Good
What's
morning.
up? What's up? What's up? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm
Yeah,
ready to roll on this
me too. I
Friday.
saw that the time got changed. Okay, yeah. 'Cause I was like, are we going live? Yes, we are. We're live.
Live time. Would you say the time change?
No, when I came on, LinkedIn had it at 10 and I was like, "Oh no." So I changed it back and I was like, "I hope everything works." So it works.
Okay. Yeah. LinkedIn trying to do some crazy stuff. LinkedIn don't black us out today. I'm talking about you.
Man, I don't know what happened. But good morning,
Good morning.
everybody, and welcome to another episode of Credible Vulnerability Moments, where we're really
Yeah.
getting into the conversation of how can we use vulnerability to express ourselves and create content and not use it as a tactic, but use it as your way to get across to people, to build your relationships with others, because you want to start using content to create a deeper relationship. A lot of times, I was one. I would get stuck. I wasn't sure how to create anything, and I was like, okay, what should I say? And that I was doing it all wrong. I was doing it where I was creating a block for myself because now I was taking myself out of being comfortable about just talking, getting comfortable in front of the audience, right? And
Mhm.
just letting the audience know who I was and why I was so passionate about what I do. So once I changed that mindset, I surrounded myself around people who could help me and get me better and get me focused. So that's where I was coming from when I was thinking about this. What about you, Carl?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the same thing. Me actually with the content, it's a little different than me. And like I said, I was blessed with that. I don't have a problem writing content. Just never did, and a lot of you all who know my history or don't know my history from reading early, getting a dictionary as a child, kind of going through words, being able to articulate. Writing was a passion of mine, always is. It continues to be. I'm writing through every show we do. I'm note taking. I'm just like that. That thrills me. So, creating content was really not my issue. How to utilize strategies and messages with all of the stuff that I wrote was really something that I had to nail down. And still to this day, I'm still because I can still write a little bit too much, but doing the content portion of that just a little bit. I done got better. It used to be up this big. That is it's a little
Yes,
bit better.
yes, you got way better.
Yes, but it's just that expressiveness, and you all know the creators at least understand that when you have that creative flow, things come, they come, and stuff come to me all the time. I go to sleep with my phone because I'm putting stuff in the notes as well because I'm thinking about stuff all the time, and that's just how the cogs roll. And when you have that content, it does nobody any good if you're not able to phrase it, if you're not able to have people understand it, and you have to really realize how to put it into play, right? I wrote a lot of things based upon how I understand what I'm trying to say. But when you're writing content and you're expressing yourself, especially in the business level, or even getting people to understand who you are, what you offer, what's your value, what you can provide for them, you have to write it in the stance of the opposite. And that's not an easy thing to do with content because we good at writing about, yo, this is how I feel. This is what goes on with me. A lot of people talk about that imposter syndrome. Just read some of your writing. See how many eyes you have in there. See how many things you have in there that denote you, what you can do, that personalized for you. You have to flip the script on that. And that's what makes great content. And that's what gets the deeper dive.
Yes, I just want to clarify. I wasn't at a loss of writing or
Right.
creating. I was at just like how you mentioned, I was at a loss because I was listening to all these external forces telling me to implement it in a certain way. I needed to reach people in a certain way. I needed to speak
Mhm.
to people in a certain way. So now my voice was being changed. The way I was creating was being changed. So that
Yes.
was why I was getting the roadblock because now
Hmm.
I'm like, like the deer in headlights. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, I got to think about this. Wait, I got to think about the call to action too. But wait, I got to say about this. But wait, I got to also say, and so with all of that, now you're not really freely creating. You're creating with all these other agendas, and it's good to have a purpose behind your creation. But it's a little stifling for, at least for me, to have all these different I want to say formulas that I was trying to follow. And then all of the formulas really weren't together. They were piecing from other situations and other places. So I had to really take a step back, and you already brought it up. I had to learn to reveal. So the deep dive understanding of why I was writing, why am I creating, why am I doing all this content, why are we getting up early and setting up lives, right? We had
Yeah.
a purpose behind it, and it wasn't just so you guys can get to know us quickly through video, but it was so we can get to understand what you needed and then provide that need. So if there were people who said, you know what, we really want to understand taxes, it's tax season, we're struggling out here as small business owners, then what we would do is go into our network and say, hey, you're a great tax person. I see your content. I see what you're doing out here. Can you come on our show? You know, are you interested? Things like that. And that's how people started to really express themselves and get to be seen. But
Mhm.
also understand, because they were already creating content, we got to see it. So we were able to say, without us just seeing titles, we were able to see and hear someone who said that they're a tax expert speak on taxes and
Mhm.
speak on it in a different way, not the drone way, not the dried out way where you're
Yeah.
just overwhelmed and bored to death. But they were like,
Sleeping.
you know what, let me yeah, they were like, let me break it down, because I help with getting tax content up on online, and just looking at it, glancing at it for errors, I'm
Mhm.
bored, because I'm just like, I can't read half of this stuff, because so much of it is law related, so much
Mhm.
is technical,
Yeah.
and it's just like, oh my God, I'm bored. Like I would need someone to break that down. And I have a great accountant. That's what she does. She breaks that down for me. I'm like, okay, good. Now I understand
Yeah.
what you're saying. But so all that to say is, when you're creating content, you're allowing people to see who you are and understand why you do what you do. That
Mhm.
is one step to creating a deeper relationship. What do you think?
Yeah. And when the content, I always create content. The thing that really resonates with me is how you get me to understand it. And I've always, as though I could go into deeper levels of conversation, I always want to articulate on the level of where the conversation is, because I've talked to people, especially these ones with the alphabets. Ooh, man, them alphabets will strangle you. When you have them alphabets behind your name, there's just this premise that you have to have this prodigy kind of like articulate conversation. You know what I'm saying? And Hemingway just said, put it in there where a fourth grader can understand it. Because when you're putting out this content and you're putting in all of the all of the trueness of yourself, you want to make that as precise as possible. You want to make that not necessarily condensed, because there's a different form. We're going to get into that as well. There's different lengths to which you can communicate the things that you have, but you want to make it where someone is intrigued. And I say, if someone's intrigued, the curiosity is piqued. And if the curiosity is piqued, you pretty much have got on the right course of trying to provide value or information from the one that's reading it. Because if you get me, I'll go through long posts, I go through short posts. I go through the posts. It's something in there that grabs me. I'm going to take the time to read it. And it doesn't matter to me the length, because if I think you're providing something for me, it's worth the time. And this is where you got to build that content that you have. You only got a few seconds. I know everybody in this microwave, everybody's not. And some people still, I call them old souls. And some people that still get newspapers, i.e., me. I still get the Sunday paper. I get it. Yes, I know it's on video. I know you can do it. I know CNN. Everybody got an app. I like ruffling the papers and actually reading the stories, right? That's the only semblance that I still have of older times. But it's also, it gives me the patience to read, articulate, understand, comprehend, instead of just seeing a flash 6 second video, 10 seconds on this, a 1 minute lengthy thing of what you're saying. So content, of course, it can be consumed in many variables and many ways and forms. But into doing that, short form is not the only way that content is relayed. And though social media will have you to believe that, I don't believe too with that attention span. And I think Charlene believes the same thing. That gets me hot when people say we got short attention spans. I mean, if you want to get me mad, and I really don't, but if you want to get me perturbed, should I say not angry? Because can't nobody get me angry. You don't have that power. But if you want to get me perturbed, start talking about humans in short attention span. It's just not the case. We've conditioned ourselves with that. You know, the mind is a muscle. And if you're conditioning to be in those realms, that's where you'll live. That's where you'll stay. But I'm gonna get off my
Yeah.
soapbox without.
Nah, because and we talked on this yesterday,
Yes.
because and what kept it in the forefront of my mind was a conversation I had with our good friend Carla. She was we were talking about that too, and she mentioned, we're training ourselves, and it's true. We're training ourselves to have short attention spans. But don't forget, people are still out there purchasing books, novels.
Mhm.
We still have children who are reading Harry Potter.
We
Like,
still
if
got
you've
book
ever seen
clubs.
yeah, if you ever seen the Harry Potter series, those books are not small, tiny, short books.
No,
So to
no.
see that young adults, young children are going through those types of books, you can no longer continue to say to yourself, we only take things in short form. That's not true. Quick videos. I think what people are missing is there's a time and place for everything, right?
Mhm.
So, of course, you want to snap someone's attention, but you want to bring them and say, hey, this is if you like this short thing, try this. This is a little longer. There's a little more meat to this conversation over here. And then that's how you can do the deep dive and go into a full conversation. Because we said before, you can't have a full conversation with sound bites. You just
No,
can't. You
no.
can't do it. And Katie brought up an awesome conversation herself when she said,
Yeah.
she was able to be vulnerable
Mhm.
and be personable on LinkedIn. At one point, we all heard that conversation that, oh, LinkedIn is professional. You should
Yes.
you should leave your personal life off of LinkedIn. Da 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 da. LinkedIn has totally changed. People
Mhm.
want to know who you are. That's how you get a lot of these DM action. And what DM action am I talking about? Heavy hitters are in your DMs. People who are
Mhm.
real connectors are in your DMs because they want to get to know you. They want to understand more about you. But one of the best ways that they were able to do that is because you created personable content. You were vulnerable in some way, shape, or form. You were probably showing the struggles that you had in your career and how you overcame those, and how now you're on the other side and you're doing better. It's things like that that's where vulnerability comes in. That's how you get the relationships going.
And that's how you build, and that's also how you build the credibility. I made a post, and I can tell you, I recycle that post. I think I do it, try to do it at least once a month. That I recycled it. Vulnerability builds credibility. It's definitely that. If you're vulnerable with me, you're already credible because it took something for you to reveal that to me. So you've already taken our relationship to a place where I know. Now, don't jump off the bridge. I ain't saying I'm trusting you with my life, but you've shown to me that you're susceptible to understanding some things that may be my weaknesses as well, because you led me into your weaknesses. This is
Mm,
where the credibility sustains itself. Now there are some points and places where if I'm dealing with others that has been shallow in our relationships through their content, through what they've been saying, through their trials and troubles, I'm less apt to share with them than I am with you, because you built this credibility to say, okay, I failed and this is it. And there's something in that. There's something in the admittance of mistakes and failure. There's power in that. Don't think that because you failed at something, it makes you less than. It is so powerful to say, yo, I failed. I talked to someone earlier this week, and they told me they was on their third business. Now, when I heard that, of course, my mind goes to, okay, three businesses, like what's going on. But then I took a breather. I didn't say that to them, but I took a breather and I say, okay, three businesses. They continue to try. I looked at the opposite part of that, and then I started to delve into the conversation, and I started reading some of their content as we were talking. I was on their page, and I was like, "Oh, they're highlighting some of the places where they made mistakes, where others, if they're following them, see not to do that, or to see that may not work out for you." And this is what people are doing when they're reading your content. And in the essence of reading it, you're building deeper relationships. They may not never say, I think I've shared it before about the guy that followed me for a year. He never commented on anything I did, never said one thing. And I researched it because I love researching. I researched it and looked him up on all of my shows to find his name, and I could not find it. He wasn't DMing me, but he DM'd me that one day and said, I've been following you a year and I was waiting for you to change. And I said, wait for me to change. That makes no sense. What are you talking about? He said, because I've followed a lot of people on here from the beginning and they have changed their philosophy, what they saying, how they saying it. And he didn't say it in the essence of growth and learning and maybe evolving. He said change. Like you say, you black today, you white tomorrow. Change. I had to add that in there. I had to
Oh my goodness. But I want to say that I I hope he's okay. I hope he
did it.
didn't.
So the
Okay.
things. Oh, did I freeze up? Did I freeze up? Oh man.
Yeah.
See, I just was talking about. See, you was talking about my connection. See, that's what
All I
happens.
did was ask a question.
No, you asked
Don't bring
about
me
my
into that. Don't
connection.
bring
You
me
you
into that.
like
Don't bring me into that.
you like janking it, like what they say. You
Don't
like
bring me into
janking
that. Don't bring me into that comment. So we going back
it.
to
Ah,
storytelling. That's where a lot of what you just mentioned brings us into the storytelling, how you cultivate and you're curating these messages that you have, because
yes.
we get, if we pay attention, our lives provides us with so many learning experiences, so many information moments that we can share with others. So now it's a time to sit down. We did the deep dive. We understand what we're doing. So now sit down and cultivate those moments. Put them all together. Put them in either in a series or something like that, and then you can say to yourself, okay, this series, like Carl, we had a whole understanding vulnerability series of content. This is amazing content that now Carl can take and repurpose in different ways. But he's already done part of that creation and created an entire series surrounding what he's passionate about. And not only is he talking about it, but he's giving learning moments from his own life, and then he's giving actionable steps. So all of these are ways that you're actually helping to tell the story and share through content, so other people can start to get to understand, oh, this is what it's about, this is why you love it. Okay, I get it now. Because sometimes we only understand concepts through storytelling. Am I wrong, Carl?
No, that is a lot of it. A lot of it grabbed it. That's one of the greatest storytellers, and I don't use that lightly when I say that, but one of the greatest books with stories in is the Bible. The Bible has been captivating people for thousands of years based on the stories that's in there. Now, as far as your faith and how you believe, or if they're true or not, that's necessarily up to debate depending on who you talk to. But the stories in there are very captivating. What took place, how it was penned, how the content grabs you, how the story grabs you, how the journey grabs you, how overcoming. It's some of everything in there, and that's the cases such as our lives. So when we're able to put some of that into our passion, into our knowledge, into our understanding, and we create this content that says, this is who I am. Or even if you want to take them through the journey, this is who I was. This is the mistakes I made. This is what I did. These are the action steps that I follow. This is where I'm at. This is how I've overcame. Our life is just that in each and every part. That's why even in my program that I have those steps where you it's just 4 steps where you go through and you come back through, because every level it gets to do the same thing. And if you're synonymous with understanding that, content and powerful content will build that out for you, and you'll have those avenues of where you can help others will learn from you.
Yes, yes. And before we kept going, because we're gonna go into this a little more this afternoon, because Carl's gonna be a
Yes.
guest on my show today. And yes, it's called Transform Clicks to Profit. We're gonna talk about sharing your vulnerabilities on your terms, because a lot of times we don't understand what that is. How does that look like when we're really trying to build our online presence? And what that is how do you build yourself up online to be visible? That's what it really is. So people can find you, people can see you. A lot of times we're sitting there just thinking if we put one or two posts up, they'll see it. Like, no, they won't. It's very noisy out there. It's very loud out there. So you want to make
Yes.
sure that you're learning how to do it. And if you want to be vulnerable, you want to learn about that, do it on your own terms. Carl is the perfect person. Mr.
Appreciate
Vulnerability
it.
himself is the perfect person to help with that. But yeah, I think with all of that we're saying, we're ultimately are trying to get to you in the terms of stop creating anything and everything just
Hmm.
to say you getting attention. You're doing trend following. There are people who trend follow because that's just what they do. That's how they've gotten attention, but it's not always positive attention. It's not always something that's sustaining, because when you're trend following all the time, you're hopping all over the place. You're doing all the things, and nothing's sticking. But once you find a purpose and you see a reasoning, there's certain things you can look at when it comes to trends and integrate it into what you're already doing, but already find your way of creating. Find your way to create, and then everything else can be sauce on the side, or the little french fries. You can add that later, but never substitute french fries for your main meal.
Yeah,
That's not going
man.
to be sustainable. Right? and
Definitely not.
and then you don't want to focus only on getting followers just so you can get the internet street cred, because how many people have tons of followers, and we always look at that. Tons of followers, no reactions, no comments. You doing a live on Instagram, you doing a live on Facebook, and nothing but crickets show up, even if the crickets don't even show up. So you have to be real careful about what you're doing. And yes, your numbers are going up, but is it because these are people who are actively coming back, actively telling you, yes, I like this, no, I didn't like this? Or that's where you really start to see you actually have engaged followers. And then of course you respond back. You respond back to them, and you let them know that you see them, you hear them. When you do lives, it's easy to show people that you see and hear them, because now you can share their comments on a live video, like how we've done throughout this whole show.
Hmm.
Katie has been dropping amazing comments.
Yes.
So
Thanks,
has
Katie.
Jessica. So has I see there's a LinkedIn user, I think Christine, because it doesn't come up
Yes.
on my side.
I'm
Okay,
sorry, Christine.
Carla. Like we can see
Christine
all the
Cross. We thank
people.
you, Christine.
We can see all the people who are coming in and they're dropping amazing comments. So this is how you say it on a live. And if you're doing audio podcasts only, then if you see an audience on one side but it's not visual, then you start to mention what they're saying. You mention them by name. You say
Hmm.
exactly what their comments are. Things like that. That allows them to be still a part of the conversation, and you can still do your show. Same thing. I remember when and I might be dating my, I don't even know if they still do this, when they would have shows on the radio and do call-ins, because I stopped listening to the radio because they were just only playing two songs, and I wasn't trying to hear
Yeah,
that.
what was up with that? They've been doing that for years. I stopped the radio a long time ago now. I listen.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
you're not gonna brainwash me into loving this song. I don't
yeah,
care.
and that's pretty much what they do, right? I'm like, yo, every hour that song plays like 5, 6 times within an hour.
Right. So
Yeah,
for me, I had to figure out, okay, look, this is what I like. This is what I'm going to stick to. And I would see the trends. I'm not telling you to ignore what's going on in the world, but I'm telling you not to start implementing every single thing that comes out. That's where
mhm.
you start to lose who you are.
Yeah, and it's when you were talking about them trends, the first thing came to my mind was trends to me are like stop signs, right? They get your attention, you pause, and then you move on. It's exactly what a trend is to me, and that's just how the circle I put in it. Now, is there some good things by stopping? Yes, when you stop at the stop sign, you notice things, and that's the purpose of it. Not only for the safety measure, for the traffic flow, but it's also in essence to get you to gauge that there's a stop coming there. So there's a place of that attention that has to be drawn there. A stop sign is put at an intersection. It's to get your attention that you need to stop at this intersection. That's how I view trends. Now, there's things that can be taken from there that can be useful to you. And there's also the idea that at the end of the trend is death. And I just really mean it like that. I know this sounds kind of cold, but that's really where it is. Trends die. They're not forever. Now, will they come around? Yeah, we see that a lot in fashion. That is one of the biggest ones that recycle. We see that now. The straight leg pants from the 60s is back now. You know what I mean? Then they had the bell bottoms a little bit from the 70s. They was wearing that. So yes, trends do recycle, but they also fall off. So if you don't want to be a part of the trend and you don't want to set up your content based on trend, you
Mhm.
want the trend to be something that someone's looking up. That's your content.
Yeah.
I try to write everything that I write based upon I want it to be out there forever. I don't want it to be. Maybe some people won't know about vulnerability now. Maybe vulnerability is just in grab us so much that everybody's just going to be singing "Kumbaya" at the riverside. Psych, I doubt it. But I want you to have it out there where it's readable, where you have it, and you can say, "Yo, I remember dude was talking about that in 2022. Now we in 2050, and we right back around where people don't know how to show vulnerability again. Because believe me, it's gonna come back around. If you live so, it's gonna come back around. So the content is those things that you want to establish that will establish you, that will be your footprint in the essence of who you were, the difference you made, and even to some extent, what legacy you left. This is
Mhm.
how important content is.
Definitely. And with that being said, we want to start cultivating a full out array of different things. So that's how
Hmm.
you start testing what's
Yes.
working. And not only what's working, you start giving people options. So for
Yeah.
those who pretend that they only have a short attention span, you start bringing them in. You bringing them in
Yeah.
through the clips. You bring them in through quick images, quick slideshows, quick short videos. You bring them in through short blog posts, maybe mini articles. You bring them in through series. And then you allow them at their own time to say, you know what, this is interesting. I do want to learn more. And then you
Mhm.
start giving them longer content, longer formed content, because that's where you can really do the deep dive. If you have a coaching experience, if you have a consulting experience that's 2 hours long, some people have VIP days that are 8 hours long of
Mhm.
tons of people coming at them. You want to be able to capture people who think and who have talked themselves into feeling like they have a short attention span. And I'm not talking to those who might have a learning issue.
Disability issue.
That's not what I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to those who do not have that, but they continue to talk themselves into that. They continue to feel like that's all they can take is short blurbs of sound bites.
Hmm.
You want to start allowing them to grow and expand. So that's where you start to cultivate the different forms of content. And this is perfect if you have your website coming together, you start to create those short terms, those short little
Hmm.
things. And even the podcast that Carl is going to join me on today, those are things that we're breaking down. We're going to start creating shorter content for that, but it's still going to have a long form content.
Hmm.
Because the focus is to allow others to speak about their journey, allow others to learn from that. And that's where all of that really comes from. So if you have that game plan, because I always go right back to the strategy. If you have
Yeah.
a game plan of how to use your content, what type of content you can create, then it becomes easier for you to break things up and then deliver them in a certain way.
And that content, and behind that content, you have to build a strategy. I don't think I've heard the word strategy. Uh, I've heard it a lot in corporate. Absolutely, heard a lot in corporate. I won't say as far as hearing it. I would say as far as what it means, because in corporate, the strategy is outlined. All you got to do is follow it. It's just sort of like a sort of like crossword puzzle with the little circle one. Find the words. All of the words are in there. They just jump it up into all of the alphabet. So you have to find it. That's where strategy lies is in the corporate arena. They have that there. You find it, you put it into play. It fits that model. We have to create strategy as entrepreneurs, as business people, solopreneurs, whatever your title or industry may be. You have to create those, and through content is how you're going to do that. And in creating that content, you allow yourself to create something that people can follow. They have access to you. They have a pathway to what you're doing, what you're saying, who you are, what you're providing, and the services that you're giving value in. So when you put that content out there, I can't say it so much more. The content is I know everybody been saying so much with the clichéness of it, but content is very critical to your success because without you being able to articulate who you are, without for people to see who you are, uh, how I'm about for you. I'm not going nowhere. How many times you bought a house and you haven't seen it? How many times? How many times have you done that? Right? And say, oh, even if you on flip flop or those shows, I mean, they a lot of time they buy sight unseen, but they have the capability to transform that into what they want. I'm just talking about the regular Joe Schmo, the regular Marie. I'm just yeah, the house sounds good. I like the address numbers. Let me go buy it. I ain't seen it. Living in there. So you don't do that. And see, content exposes people to you. It gives people the exposure to say, oh, okay, this is kind of how they think. Now, it's good and bad to that, but it's also how you cultivate it. You can cultivate the narrative through your content of what you want people to know, what you want people to feel about you. So I go back to the vulnerability day. You don't have to overshare. You put the content out. It's up to you what you share. What's up to you? You want to share something that moves people. You want to share something that educates, that transforms, that inspires. That's really the true purpose of content.
Yes, and that's a perfect way to segment and close this out because
Yes,
I
fire
want to say what we always say, your story is your
is a journey.
journey, and you
Yeah,
definitely want to transform vulnerability into your superpower.
that's
So
it.
everything that we share on this series is really to help you see a full out understanding of everything that you need to
Mhm.
keep going, right? So make sure that you tune in today. We're going to be on LinkedIn Live today at 2:15. Check us out, follow us so you can get the notifications when we pop up because it's about making sure that you understand how to do vulnerability on your own terms, not anybody else's terms, on your own terms. And of course, follow the Credible Vulnerability Moments series. We'll be back next Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, and we cannot wait to continue this conversation because what are we talking about next week? What are we talking about?
We talking about next week. Hey, what we talking about next week? I don't know. What are we talking about next week? I know next. I know next week. We talking about. Wait, y'all. Wait, y'all. I got so
I
many
want to say
notebooks
it's
on this.
storytelling. We talking about
No. Next week is video. Next week is
see,
video. Yes.
getting the content together so you can
Yes.
actually do it on video.
Right.
Make
Video.
sure
I'm
that
talking
you
about
are
video.
comfortable with video, and then you can accept whatever goes on it. Because live and video, we can give a little bit of perspective of how they both are different, but they're the same.
Yes. Yes. And how they curate your content and how you can put your content into those short forms and spread it
Yeah.
out like we do. Organize topics, organize things to talk about, so it's concentrated. So you're just not on here rumbling. If you ever watch a talk show, and I do a lot of what I do, with these shows based on the premise of seeing bigger production shows. I kind of watch how the guidelines go with that. Though you get on there and Jimmy Kimmel and they had a monologue and all of that stuff is choreographed correctly, intentionally to get your attention, to keep you focused, to keep you entertained, also to educate you. It does a lot of things in the span of the hour that they're on. And this is how we
Mhm.
format what we do. We want to give you a lot of things. We have guests on that drop a lot of gems. It's not sporadic. It's information that if you're using, I can almost show you every notebook I wrote down. It's giving me a segue in the section to how I can really perform what that person was talking about, how I can put that into play, the value that they've just given to me. And when you're intentional about that, it shows up. it shows up. Yes, and you
Yes,
guys,
so make sure you head
yes,
on over to carlshawnwatkins.com
absolutely,
forward slash VTP. His vulnerability transformation program. It's life changing. So you want to make sure that you are a part of that, and you
absolutely,
can really connect with him even more on LinkedIn and see all that he does. He talks and walks the walk. So make sure that
absolutely.
you are a part of that. And of course, for me, if you need some help, you want a one on one with me, and you really need to get your website strategy together, hit
Hmm.
me up at Brooklyn Custom Designs forward slash
Brooklyn,
SOS.
Brooklyn.
That's BKLYN customdesigns.com forward slash SOS, because I'm here to help you. Carl is here to help you. And we appreciate you all for coming through. Thank you so, so much. Bye,
You
you
too,
guys.
guys. See you next week.